esteemed Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is celebrating a significant victory in the country's parliamentary elections. However, in reality, the Prime Minister and his loyal supporters, in fact, have absolutely nothing at all to celebrate or be happy about. Yes, Narendra Modi, who is the current Prime Minister of India and the leader of the Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP, is likely to retain power in India and become the first Prime Minister since Jawaharlal Nehru to remain in power for such an extended period of time. He has also focused on economic reforms and a strong stance on national security. Nevertheless, the ruling party failed to secure a majority in parliament for the first time in history in Narendra Modi's long and illustrious career, not only as a national leader, but also as a respected and influential regional politician. Now, the Prime Minister's party will need the support of its allies in order to successfully govern. The expectations Narendra Modi had for these parliamentary elections related to strengthening his position and increasing the presence of his supporters in parliament were not met. The hopes for reducing the role of the opposition were not realized. On the contrary, the opposition alliance India may not claim power, but at the very least, it can be a serious alternative to the ambitious plans of the head of government. However, when we say that the opposition alliance India cannot indeed aspire to power, we might also in fact be making a serious mistake, as a matter of fact. Yes, of course, indeed, representatives of all regional parties that are currently part of the coalition with the Prime Minister are now claiming that they will support him. However, it is undeniably and unquestionably clear that the leaders of these regional parties are undoubtedly and truly the genuine kings of the Indian political scene after the recent parliamentary elections. It is evident that representatives of Mr. Modi's party and representatives of the India Alliance will be speaking with them, who is led by one of India's most well-known, renowned, and respected politicians, Rahul Gandhi, a descendant of the famous and influential political dynasty in the country and globally. And even if we assume that today's coalition negotiations, which Narendra Modi will conduct with his allies, will indeed be very definitively successful for the Prime Minister, it does not mean that in a certain period of time, a year, 2, or 3, the coalition will remain viable and a new government will not come to power in India in the near future. Narendra Modi, the current Prime Minister of India, of course, will be prepared for negotiations with his coalition allies, but he is unlikely to agree to all their significant demands related to strengthening the functions and capabilities of the states, because such a willingness to make concessions could undermine his position among his own electorate and further weaken the ruling party's prospects in the next parliamentary elections in the country, which are crucial for maintaining political stability and ensuring continued governance. And these elections, considering the current composition of the lower house of the Indian Parliament, could in fact actually be early. The India Alliance, on the other hand, will indeed find it easier to meet both the requirements and various desires of regional political leaders because at the very end of Indian National Congress Party's rule, it had already carried out successful negotiations on issues that now so concern Narendra Modi's supporters among regional political forces, in fact. All this means, in fact, a rather simple thing. Indeed, we are witnessing instability in one of the largest and most populous countries in the world. In the largest democracy on the planet, in the world, Prime Minister Narendra Modi was counting on stabilization and significantly strengthening his own political and administrative powers. Instead, for the remainder of his term, which is expected to be quite challenging, he will have to struggle for power under rather challenging conditions. And this instability in India, of course, will undoubtedly be immediately exploited by its opponent. India has a complex and complicated relationship with China. China now perceives India as its main competitor in the global south, especially in various domains. Of course, it is extremely important for Beijing that India's development as a political and economic competitor to China is interrupted, so India does not have the opportunity to get closer to the United States and other Western countries, so that it could not become a competitor to China in any possible way or conceivable manner on the political stage. Narendra Modi was one of the few politicians who openly told Russian President Vladimir Putin after the attack on Ukraine that our time is not a time for wars. And undoubtedly, of course, indeed, the task of both Beijing and Moscow is definitely to deprive India of an independent voice, promoting instability and turbulence in that country. The results of the parliamentary elections in India indeed create significant opportunities for the leadership of China and Russia, and I have no doubt that even now, in the offices of the heads of the special services of these various countries, they are meticulously working on a comprehensive plan to increase this turbulence and complexity in development. A stable India might be needed by the West, needed by the USA in various ways and forms. The European Union, China, and Russia, which are major global powers, do not need a stable India that will compete and decide what its economic relations with Beijing and Moscow will be with absolute certainty. This is a crucial aspect of international relations. Thank you. Stay tuned to this channel and please subscribe to it and definitely help it grow. Good luck.